Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
You gotta be kidding me. Why? Why does this always happen? A heartbreaker. Okay, it's past midnight. It's 12:15. How am I supposed to go to bed after I just watched that debacle of Cron hitting a monster bomb that rips my heart into 17 pieces? And now I'm just going to stare at the ceiling wondering what went wrong. It's painful. It's disturbing. This team just continues to lose. And I don't understand. I thought when Kyle Schwarber did his thing after that awesome first at-bat where he battled, he had a patient eye, he was waiting for the right pitches, he ended up not getting the job done, but you could just tell that it was different. He was at the plate with a different mindset, a different philosophy, and he looked more engaged. We see the homer, the opposite field slap. It's not as if he murdered the baseball. It was a slap to left field. It flew because of Coors Field, but I'll take it any day of the week. When that happened, I thought, yes. No, I didn't even mean to do that. Horrendous job by me. Accidentally hit something on the soundboard. If only that noise was actually, like, describing something good. It's not. This is not fun right now. This is a lot of pain, and I already see the reaction that Joe Girardi lost this game. To me, Joe Girardi did not lose this baseball game. Seranthony Dominguez, though, he got boned after getting the first two outs of that seventh inning. He got boned on account of Blackman, an outside pitch, outside part of the plate, should have been all she said, all done. It should have been accomplished. Phillies go back to the dugout, and then bada bing, bada boom, they finish things off. Now, the reason why I'm not blaming Joe Girardi is, well, Seranthony Dominguez did his job. It's just unfortunate that the person who calls strikes and balls screwed him over. So then let's go to this. He ends up electing to go to Familia after Seranthony Dominguez struggled. Now, to be fair, he got those couple of outs early, but he had to battle through those as well. He got it done, but he was battling. If Joe Girardi would have stayed with Seranthony Dominguez, everyone who despises Joe Girardi, which what feels like is 95% of the fan base right now, would have said, how do you keep him in the game? It was obvious that it took him a lot of pitches. It was obvious that he was internally competing with himself and he was having a tougher time. Even though he recorded the outs, you could just tell by the eye test that Seranthony Dominguez didn't have it. That would be what was said if they stayed with Seranthony. So they go to Familia. I have no problem with the decisions made. I have a problem with the result. I don't have a problem with the decision. Do the decisions make sense? Yes, it's not like the decision to go to Seranthony Dominguez was stupid. It's not as if the decision to realize that, hey, maybe we take Seranthony out of here and go with Familia is stupid. I don't have a problem with it. Now, me, personally, I even tweeted this out before I saw Seranthony Dominguez in the game. Would I have went back to Kyle Gibson in the seventh? Maybe. Is that me being a little bit outrageous, a little bit greedy? Yeah, probably. He had a tough fourth where guys were getting singles, guys were putting the ball in play, and it was just unfortunate. There was one big, deep fly out to center field that scored an RBI that was a little bit barreled up. But other than that, it wasn't as if these hits were sensational and magnificent and just outstanding. Just one of those innings. But after that, I mean, that sixth inning was so sharp. Would I have went back to him for the seventh? Maybe. But to be fair, once I go back to it, it's not a horrendous decision to go to your pen there. I can live with either or. And if you tell me before I see the outcome, the decisions that happened tonight pitching-wise, am I going to throw a hissy fit and say that there's zero thoughts about that in a positive direction? Of course not. Of course not. So just blaming the result is what I don't do. Blaming the result in terms of the manager, what happened with the result afterwards is automatically the manager's fault. No, I don't agree with that at all. And I just I don't agree with the pure on hatred as if this is Joe Girardi's problem. It's not Joe Girardi's problem right now. He's getting the blame of it because that's what happens. Someone reached out to me on Twitter because I posted our game card afterwards on the Broads Media Twitter account. The scorecard is the right way to describe it. So I put up the scorecard and I said, when will this be fun again? And the response was when Joe Girardi is fired. So then I quote tweeted that and said, okay, did you say the same thing when Gabe Kapler was fired? And when Gabe Kapler was here? Did you say this team will be better when Gabe Kapler gets fired? And then now here's Joe Girardi, and now you're saying the Phillies will be better when Joe Girardi gets fired? Do you see the pattern here? I'm not telling you Joe Girardi's perfect or Joe Girardi's some magician, but don't tell me that he's why the team is 4-8. Stop it. Team's just not playing good enough right now. In terms of the lineup today, I actually like the lineup. Now, I prefer what we envisioned to start the season, and I hope that was better. Schwarber leading off, JT in the 2-hole, Bryce at the 3, Castellanos at the 4, Didi at the 5. Something along those lines is what I would hope would have been the lineup. But based off of the circumstances, knowing that it has all changed and you're somewhat getting desperate to find new things, I got no problem whatsoever with Segura, Reese, Bryce, Nick, JT, Schwarbs, Bohm, Didi, who ended up getting hurt, and Camargo went in there, who had a couple of hits. And by the way, his defense is no joke. And anyone who calls him Ronald Torreyes is just unfair because Camargo is better than Ronald Torreyes. He probably should have even had another hit, but he got robbed in the 9th inning with a rocket to left field, to the third base side, I should say, to the left side of the field. And he's way better than Ronald Torreyes, and his glove, everything he does defensively is so damn smooth. While Bohm makes a play where he ends up backing up a little bit. He makes the play with his glove. He throws off his back foot. Segura has to lean 5 feet wide, keeps his foot on the bag. Now, they get the out at second base, but every time Bohm does something, it needs to be more difficult than just a traditional play, and that irks me. There was another situation where he did learn from his previous mistakes that I at least have to acknowledge and give him a mini golf clap for. This is Major League Baseball. This doesn't deserve a standing ovation, but we've seen him throw the ball away in the past just trying to force something. There was a chopper to third. He ended up eating it. It was a slow chopper. Probably couldn't make the play at first base, so he ate it. It ended up being first and second after that, and kind of is what it is from there. But just the fact that he didn't throw it away. This is how low of a bar it is for Alec Bohm. At least he didn't throw it into the stands, right? I mean, that's where we're at. He did ground into a double play late, and that stung big time. But he also was part of a 4th inning where the Phillies took a 2-0 lead. Matt Vierling, of all people, after a couple outs by the Phils, the back end of your lineup produced with a Bohm walk, Camargo hit, and then Vierling with the hit to make it 2-0. But look, I watched Rhys Hoskins hit a triple to start the game. I watched Bryce Harper knock him in. I watched Gibson shine for a majority of the outing. I thought this would have been a win. And then when they lost the lead, and then Kyle Schwarber was awesome. He even chipped into it to make it 6-5, and I thought maybe that one run was so crucial that there'd be some life. But then when you saw the graphic pop up after the bottom of the 8th, and you recognized that the 3 up was Camargo, it said Vierling, which ended up being pinch hit by Bryson Stott, who he even got screwed with a second strike on the outside part of the plate. That wasn't a strike at all. That's the umpire wanting to go home early, and then that changed the entire at-bat as he swung through that 3rd strike, knowing that the 2nd strike was called when it shouldn't have been, which would have made it a 3-1 count instead of a 2-2 count. And, I thought that there were a couple pitches that changed the direction of the game, potentially. I can't see the future. I don't know exactly, but, there were decisions that were made behind the plate that I thought obviously hurt the Phillies, and that's the name of the game sometimes. You got to pitch through adversity. You got to battle through the grind. And if Seranthony Dominguez realizes that he got hosed, what you need to do there, instead of having a 2-out walk, which comes back to bite you in the ass, you got to put him away. In terms of Bryson Stott, as we're kind of bouncing around here, I feel that he is having some tough days at the office. You go back to the 5-strikeout game the other day. So, it's like Bryson Stott is having some growing pains big time, and he looks overwhelmed. And this team, you got to find a way to get off the schneid here. You got to win a baseball game tomorrow afternoon with Zach Eflin on the bump. What does this mean with an afternoon game? JT Realmuto, the DH, Bryce Harper DHing instead of playing right field, Zach Eflin, and who's behind the plate just because of that dynamic. There's a lot here that you have to think about for tomorrow's game. And by the way, JT, he got on base a few times. He's been hitting the ball well. You got to get a win. You got to put your best players out there right now and try and snag something to gain momentum. I see a lot of Phillies fans figuring out that the Mets are winning doubleheader games today against the San Francisco Giants. Francisco Lindor with some big hits. It goes to extra innings early on in that first game. I ain't worried about the Mets. The Mets are doing what the Mets are doing right now. That's an uncontrollable. I got to figure out the Phillies. I have to worry about this team. I got to worry about what they're doing right now. That's where I'm at. I don't care about any other team. I'm focused on the Phillies. They're 4-8 in their first 12. I see the chat mocking the fact that I've claimed it's early. Is it still early, Broach? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you want to do the math, 12 games out of 162, there's 150 more of these. Is it still early? Yes, it is. Is it time to, put the meter up a little bit more and have the fire and intensity a little bit hotter? Absolutely. Both can be true. It's early, and it's time to put the heat up. It's time to bring that noise a little bit louder. They're going to hide as long as possible behind the Sixers. For majority of people, I'm not going to allow that to happen. So both can be true. Doesn't have to be one or the other at all. All right, 856-442-9805. I see people trying to climb in and hop on board so we can discuss it. So that is the phone number, 856-442-9805. Let's start things off here. You're on Broads Media.
What's up, Broads?
Yo.
If it wasn't 12 in the morning, I would be screaming my head off. But let's just run down this game. One thing people aren't looking at now, because, we ended up losing the game, is I really like when Hoskins went from second to third on that hit in the early innings. Like, he knows this offense hasn't been getting runs, so for him to get the third on that, even though it was a close play, that's really clutch on scoring that early runs. But then we go into the middle innings, we let up some runs from Gibson, which I think he had a pretty good outing. But, then the home run from Kyle Schwarber gives us hope, right? We're like, okay, we have a lead now. Can we just hold this for a few more innings? And then the pitch from Familia screws us over, and then we just cannot figure it out.
It was a bad pitch. There's no doubt about it. Familia's pitch was a bad pitch. Not something I want to live and die on is that. You're going to get that out of Familia. You're going to get the bad. You're going to get the good. Tonight we got the bad. And in that ballpark that there could be damage done no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what situation it is, because of the way the ball flies. But the Phillies squandered some chances to even put more runs on, whether it's Gene Segura at the top of the lineup, popping up the second base where there were some runners on. I mean, there were chances. Joe Girardi mentioned it in the post game during the press conference about how many double plays hurt them. They could have done better. Now, at the end of the day, do I blame this more on the offense or more on Familia? And really, that seventh inning. It's hard not to think of that one swing by Cron that felt like there was a huge knife that just went through my heart, because that was devastating. And the way that it was crushed, and you could just tell instantly that it was a no-brainer. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's so damn deflating. Now, if you want to look at the many positives within that, even though I don't really want to, the fact that Kyle Schwarber responded with another RBI afterwards, so he hit the homer of his own. Cron does damage. And then here's JT and Kyle Schwarber, who put a really good how do you do on it towards the right side of the infield. You get an RBI, and you battled. You didn't give up. Camargo put a nice bat on the ball. It could have changed the whole direction of things if the play wasn't made over at third base. Have your first guy on in the ninth. But I look at that Familia pitch, and that burns more than anything else. There were issues offensively. There were issues with some things. What burns the most, though, is really the Seranthony Dominguez pitch, which was an obvious third strike. You look at all the pictures online, pitch 6, a big green dot right on the outside part of the plate. And I don't know how you go from that to screwing over Bryce and Stodd, but those were two areas. I mean, it really was. I don't know how you screw that one up, though. And if you remember, different circumstance, but a few games ago, Rhys Hoskins, late in the game, gets a pitch, plate discipline, holds off. It was low. It was underneath the line. It was low. It was close. It was low. He decides and elects not to swing because, well, he's got a high-powered mindset and he's got a good eye for the zone. And he got boned big time. Changed the trajectory of that late inning. Oh, here we go again. Now, I'm not telling you the reason why they're 4-8 is because of the umpires. No. Self-inflicted wounds over that, no doubt. But just like I referenced earlier, sometimes it could be a little bit of two things. You get out of that inning in the 7th, and we're not even in the situation where Cron hits a bomb. It's just not there. All right, we'll go back to the phones. Hello, you're on Broads Media.
What's up, Broads? So I actually live in Arizona. It's 9:30 over here, so it's not as dreading as you guys. But so I was kicking and screaming at this game, especially in that 7th inning. I just had that feeling, too, that when the umpire just kind of made those calls, like, I just felt it. I was like, God damn it. It's typical Phillies. Familia comes in. Although I do agree with you on Girardi, a lot of people are way too hard on him. I didn't really like the call, I guess, because I didn't think that the Rockies were really, touching him up, Seranthony, but
quick. It wasn't that they were touching him up. It was more about every single count. Look, you go up, you got your 2 strikes, and now it ends up being a full count. And he was really working extra hard. It wasn't easy. Even though he did get those 2 outs, there was work involved.
You're absolutely right. And also too is that I'm on the fence with you as well. Is that it's early, right? It's early. I love that. But I guess with just Acuna's coming back on rehab, the Mets are about to get even more healthy. I would want to just steal a couple more of these games. You know what I mean?
Well, definitely. It's not even stealing at this point. And appreciate your call. It's not even about steal. This isn't stealing. You got to win games, right? I mean, this pace is awful. This pace is dreadful. So it's not just about trying to steal some games here and there. We got to start playing better baseball. It's not about sneaking away with one and feeling better if you're playing this poorly at times, but you sneak away with one. It's not really about that. We got to see a finer product. We got to see a more established team. We got to see a squad that has more confidence, a team that has a little bit more edge. We were pumped up about that. Castellanos has some attitude. Schwarber's all about October baseball. Now, historically, he starts off slow, but one of the things that we were so hyped about is the fact that you have professionals that just have a little bit more pop to who they are, some more personality. There'd be something about the Phillies kind of having something that you could hold on to. It wouldn't be dead baseball. So far this season, it's been all about dead. So I get it. You would like more wins, and you'd feel better if, let's say, you had 6 wins. Even if you were 6-6 instead of 4-8, that feels significantly different right now that you see them being 4-8, even though 500 would still fall in that typical category of a baseball team in this town that's just about as mediocre could get. But it's less about sneaking away with the win here and there, and it's more about the style that they're playing with and what we thought that they would be, not just from hitting, not just from raking, but about a life to them. They got no life, they got no juice. And I just feel that these guys are too much of pros for that to be the case. Now, if your reaction to that statement is Joe is supposed to wave pom-poms to do that for them, this is where I will go back to. Let's look at Bryce Harper's MVP last year, right? Awesome, phenomenal. Was Joe Girardi leading him into doing that? When JT Realmuto's the best catcher in baseball, is that because of how good the Marlins were managerial-wise? Is Joe Girardi making JT Realmuto throw guys out at second base? Bryce Harper's doing it because Bryce Harper's doing it. It's not on the manager to make a 30-year-old, a 31-year-old man who has years and years and years of experience in Major League Baseball, who has performed on big stages in October, to say, hey, you go do it out there, son. It's crazy. But they're the number one scapegoats all the time. Now, with the Mets and the Braves, the Mets are hot right now. There's going to be a time where they lose games, and they lose 5 in a row. They lose 6 in a row. They lose 6 of 8. The Braves are going to go through a spurt where they're not doing as well. Whatever the case is, where they do hot, where they do bad. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Now, I know the Braves are the the Mets are the hot item right now because of what they did today. But I don't even know. See, I don't look at standings in April. All right, that's one of the most fraudulent things to do in baseball. The Braves are 5-7. So for everyone saying the Braves, the Nationals are in second place at 6-7 right now. I'm not telling you I love where the Phillies are, but all right, let's see where the Braves end up finishing after their slow start to the season as well, which we all anticipate them to just be the more polished team, the more, let's say, respected team in the division. Like, you could probably have more faith in them to win the NL East compared to anybody else just based off of their play, even after losing Freddie Freeman, because you're bringing in Matt Olson. What's Matt Olson hitting right now? 422. 422. He's walked 11 times, 2 ribbies, 2 homers. Huh. Must be nice. All right, we'll go to Amadeo. What's up, Amadeo?
That definitely sounds nice to have, because right now all we know is pain.
We do.
I would like someone to do that at least.
Yeah, we do know pain. Unfortunately, we do know pain.
Yeah. It's one of the things, because I do agree with your point, because when you were bringing out the Mets and the Braves, like at this point, it's really like no point at worrying about those two teams right now, because it is April. The Mets at this point, yeah, they're hot. They're going to go on their losing streaks. And we all know at the end of the day, the Mets do Met. The Braves, like you said, are the most polished team. That's also one of the things I don't like when watching Phillies postgame with Ricky Bo and Michael Barkan. They kind of bring up that fact a little too much, because they seem to be really absurdly worried about the Mets right now. Like, just worry about your team. Worry about just, winning a game at this point. Stop worrying about the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have to obviously talk about some things, but I'm not the biggest Barkan fan in the world. Sometimes some of the things he says on post-game just kind of rubs me the wrong way and irks me. I don't hate him by any means, but I'm just saying, Barkan, he doesn't move the needle, if you will. But Ricky Bo, I mean, Ricky Bo's kind of showing you a good level of he's bothered by each game, and he's letting you know why he's upset, and you could tell that this is starting to really grind his gears. At the same time, being someone who's been involved in this and has been through a ton of journeys and has played a lot of baseball, he'll always preface it by saying, it is still early, and there's a reason why that is. If you get annoyed by that, fine, it's just because you can't take reality, but someone who's done it for as long as he's done it, and he's been in the bigs, it's April 20th.
Yeah, that is basically the only fact that is really early. And also one thing with the umpires, too, because I feel like this was also in Gibson's last start as well against the Marlins. Like, wasn't there, like, one pitch where it was, like, a 1-1 count? The umpire, it was a very close pitch. He called it a ball instead of a strike, and then eventually sparked the Marlins' really big scoring inning. It was like one of those pitches where Gibson got really frustrated at the umpire when the inning ended.
Yes.
And then basically it was kind of the same thing.
I think it went for, yeah. There were a couple different sequences that I have in my brain right now, and I appreciate it. Yes, you could. He was bothered. He kind of threw a little bit out there. I can't believe I'm about to say this because I'm enjoying Kyle Gibson. He's a savvy vet. You think about those pitches, ground ball pitches, that can work when you have defenders that you trust, of course, but you get something going with the sinker, with the slider. I really like his repertoire. Just a savvy vet, been around the block. He's a major league professional pitcher, but he threw a little Nick Pivetta in there in that previous start where he was bothered. He started talking to himself pretty heavily there, and you could tell that he was somewhat throwing shade towards the blue. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a good reference to bring back up, but I don't want to make it seem like the reason why the Phillies are in this position is just because of the blue, because let's be realistic. There's times where the Phillies get a little bit of some help, and there's some generous stuff that occurs where you go, hey, you'll take that any day of the week. Oh, what's that? It's now 2-1 instead of 1-2 because there was a pitch that went into the favor of the Phillies, and now there's a drive to right field, or there's a nice single up the middle. So for every time as it backfires on the Phillies because of their pitching staff that gets boned, there's just as many times as the Phillies can take advantage of that at the same time. So, their approaches to the plate I thought were better. I hated what we saw in game 1, 5-pitch innings and just going up there hacking. I mean, there's got to be a methodical way to get the raking out of them. And, I thought that today it was better at times. Double play balls can't happen. You got your Schwarber homer. You got your Rhys Hoskins triple. You got Bryce knocking him in, who has a good amount of RBI to this point. Same with actually scoring runs. So, did they do enough offensively? 5 runs in that ballpark? I think the answer is yes. I think they did enough offensively here. I'm going to have nightmares about Dominguez and about Familia. Those two will irk me. So just to look at the pitch count total, just so you can see exactly where Seranthony Dominguez was on his day. Seranthony Dominguez threw 25 pitches for his 2 outs. Then, of course, he walked a hitter. So, even though he really shouldn't have with Blackman. And Familia came in 10 pitches. Ew. Terrible. It seems like the leadoff spot is jinxed, by the way. Gene Segura went 0 for 4. He did walk once, and he struck out 1 time. I didn't mind this lineup, though. I wouldn't be against running it back with a similar thought process. Although I'm fascinated with how the catcher thing's going to play out, knowing that the DH with the elbow situation is Harper. Castellanos went 0 for today. More of your back half of your lineup, 5, 6, Camargo, Vierling. These guys did a little bit better. Alec Boehm went 0 for 3. Don't anticipate a 471 Alec Boehm to continue forever, though. For all those guys that mentioned that Alec Boehm's your hottest hitter, that's not something that's sustainable. We'll find the norm. Now, I think he's going to be a better hitter than he was last season, but is that going to be enough to outweigh some of the throws that he makes? He did make one nice play that was a little bit more than routine, charged the ball nicely, kind of threw on the run as he was running towards the infield grass and towards first base, which was solid. But I'm not here to start throwing this big Kardashian party for simple plays. I'm more annoyed that standard throws to second base, it's always got to be tougher than it needs to be. So we'll see what his hitting's going to be like. Double play was a rally killer, though. It's for damn sure. Let's go to Jimmy. What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, Bruce?
How are you?
Not good. This team is very fortunate right now that the Sixers are playing in the playoffs right now. And not only playing in the playoffs, but they're playing well in the playoffs, because if the Sixers were struggling, this team would be getting crucified much more than they currently are right now. I know it's early in the season.
Well, that's another part of it, too, where, I obviously understand that there's a lot of Philadelphia sports fans that are distracted by the Sixers, but I also think that how many people put too many emotions into April baseball in general just because of how naturally early it is. Like, people don't really dive head first unless you're like us, which we're sick in the head and we're just insanely obsessed with the game, but we're the outlier compared to the norm.
Yeah, I just hope this team turns around quickly, because this fan base, I'm sick of apathy in this fan base. That usually that only happens like the later part of the season, but at least in the last few seasons, we've gotten off to good starts.
Yeah, but where did that get you?
Now it seems like the fan base is not even really passionate now.
It's because they're 4-8 in their first 12. If they win 5 games in a row, these fans will be right back. So it just depends on the result, and you'll get that reaction that you're looking for. You talk about them starting good in years past, which you're not wrong. You nailed it. But what ended up happening? They didn't make the playoffs. So what did that hot start really do for them? Not that I want them to be this slow because hot starts don't work, but just to kind of lay it out there, you're right. They sweep the Braves. We're excited early. But where did that get us? It got us in a position where we weren't playing in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it doesn't matter. It just matters how many wins you have at the end of the day. And one more thing, too, like, let's stop, like, killing Girardi right now, because that inning would have been over if the umpires made the right call. And this whole idea that, like, all these guys that we've had before, like McKinnon or Kapler, they all suck. They're all the problem. Let's fire them. We're going to be good immediately after we fire them. Let's just see. Maybe it's Dave Dombrowski right now. I'm not sure.
No. It's just the guys aren't hitting.
It's not even Dave Dombrowski.
No, it's not Dave Dombrowski. It's the players. Right now, it's the players, Jimmy. And, yeah, I mean, it's this guy, it's that guy, it's this guy, it's that guy. Now, the guys just aren't playing well right now. They're not clicking, and they're not executing the way that we need them to, and that's the number one problem. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of Joe, I mean, that's just what everyone does. Everyone's just going to complain. See, I needed that Gabe Kapler experience. I was once one that would destroy my life thinking about Gabe Kapler. I despise Gabe Kapler, but I learned from the Gabe Kapler situation. I did. I grew up as I don't know, just as someone who was kind of digesting sports and analyzing sports. I needed that. That helped me recognize how little of an impact really the manager has, more so than I thought it once did at one time. It just doesn't. I mean, now Gabe Kapler is in a well-ran organization. Not that I think Dave Dombrowski has this franchise in the same spot that Matt Klentak and Andy McPhail did, because that's absolutely not the case. But when Gabe Kapler's handed the right analytics and handed a San Francisco Giants organization that is ran very smoothly, he looks great. When he's here with the Phillies and you're playing Maton and Jankowski and you got all these guys where Carlos Santana smashing TV screen and all this, that's not to say he wasn't a problem at all. And that's not to say Joe Girardi's not a part of the problem right now either. Because sure, there is a job to do. It's not as much of a percentage as you want it to be, but there is a percentage that is what it is at the moment. It's just in terms of a pie chart, it's not as much of the pie chart as a lot of the other problems are that I think are way more important for, this turnaround as a whole. With that, that's kind of where I'm at with this loss. It's kind of where I'm at. Those are my thoughts. It's disappointing. That's for damn sure. It's disappointing. All right, everyone. That's where we're going to end things here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hitting that thumbs up button. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any event out there, SeatGeek code BROADS at checkout will get you $20 off of your purchase. It's free parking. It's free beer. It's a no-brainer. There's some great prices right now on SeatGeek. Utilize promo code BROADS. And then lastly, on social media, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, at Broads Media. Hit the follow button there. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a game. I'll catch you after that one. See you then.